So, hi everyone, here's Bernd Pütz speaking to you from company and on behalf of company REINARTZ. I'm here in Germany in the Neuss Harbor and directly at the Rhine. And what is about Rainer and who are we? So today we want to speak a little bit about, this is a topic of that webinar, about prices, revenue, and typical markets. And we have done a lot in that regard, and I'm happy to present something about it. That's me, the fat guy there on the right in the corner. And this is us at REINARTZ, that we have that old facility here in the harbor, as said, and we are very proud and happy to be now in the new building, what you see here in the front of the picture. We are, a quite old and traditional company. We were already founded around 1853. In the past, since 1930, we are here in the harbor, and we are completely surrounded by oil and feed mills. And this is also our heritage, that we were some kind of an extended workbench for those oil mills. But later on, since we are here with our own workshop, that we started with our own products in machining, producing, and developing equipment for the so-called cold pressing of vegetable oil seeds. And you can imagine that it is not only a single equipment, that cold pressing of vegetable seeds or vegetable oil containing seeds is always a process. And so we also manufactured those peripheral equipment like roller mills and others, even those kind for purification of the oil later on. That was for sure, there are third-party suppliers, but you find filter presses also in our current equipment, and others was done in the past, even those truck crane. Very nice thing, and very nice to see those old pictures. But the question is for sure, what brought us into the insect industries? And that happened already, let's say, more than 8 years ago. And when we started with the first test pressing of insects, and we learned quite quickly that those dried insects have a very, very comparable behavior when being pressed like oil seeds, knowing from the past. And there we have, as a result, after pressing, we have the defatted insect meal, protein-rich, low fat. And on the other hand, we have the oil, which has to be purified in later on post-process. So this knowledge about processing of those seeds with the knowledge combined with insects, that gave us a strong position in the past and now, and actually that we are able to provide solutions for processing insects. And we learned over those 8 years that it is not only the processing, that is much more around the insects. And so we developed solutions in regard of let's say, the consulting or the engineering of a whole insect farm. And so meanwhile, we are at a point that we can look back on a reference of something between 30 or 40 already implemented projects. In total, it's more than 40 if you count all those consulting and servicing tasks together with all that supply of hardware, as that could be some kind of a single equipment like the screw press, or the whole processing line, starting from the deactivation or the sieving in front of it, and the drying and the pressing and so on. So, but always what we are faced with is a question in regard to prices and what is the cost of something. And then we tried to have a better approach to it, and we tried to use our network. That is what we have done. It is already the first thing, or the first time we did it was in the end of 21, that we had that we performed a small and little survey in which we asked our known contacts in regard to country or region you are, which species of insects you are processing, what is your price where you are selling for either defatted insect meal, the insect oil, what is about, if not processing, is it just the dried full-fat larvae you are selling, and what is the price for the insect frass? That was something what we have done with having a database of around more than 400 contacts. We tried to address all something around 300 people, which we thought that they were most alive, but it was, how to say, the reply was quite slow, lame, or tame. You can choose a word for it. We only, how to say, we received only something about 40 replies or response, and maybe something to keep in mind whenever REINARTZ is asking you something, give an answer. Yeah, because it is for creating much more better understanding and information level for the whole insects industry. That is nothing what we want to keep for us. We want to speak and discuss with those or that information with you and others. So it is not a typical company secret, because the price what you are giving or that information what you are giving, this is something of an individual negotiation, and this can be some very important information for any later use of others. So let's have a trip around the world. This is what you can see, and that is what we learned, that we around the world in regard to the defatted insect meal, we have almost and everywhere some similar pricing. Yeah. This is the price per kilogram, or if you set it by ton, it's 3,000 euro per ton. I do not know what the US people make here, but maybe this is some single fancy business. Congratulations to have something like that. What is about the oil price? Same here. We have a similar pricing all over the world, and this can be repeated even for the frass. Only difference is here in around Colombia, but I think they use weapons to negotiate the pricing. So I don't know exactly, but sorry for joking. What is about the mealworms? This is quite close to our common expectations, that the pricing is a little bit higher compared to the BASF products. And again, here you see the hotspots. North America, especially Canada, is very strong in mealworm farming. We have some conglomeration around France I heard about in regard to mealworms. And there also we had received some figures and numbers in regard to the prices here. And even the oil is quite highly priced here for the mealworm product. With the crickets, close to our expectations. That is a very, very highly priced product. We see some Asia Pacific companies which are quite good in business and already running it quite successfully. And yeah, what can be the conclusion of all that information? And as I already told you, this information is not only for us. This is to spread it to a broader understanding about pricing. Yeah. So again, we have seen that we have a quite even or a comparable spread of price level around the globe. It makes no sense to sell from one continent to the other just to be more successful or to increase the earnings there around. We see that, this is something what I can also put in or highlight later on. The demand worldwide in those insect products is much, much higher than the capacities what we have actually. And this brings us to the momentum, which we already heard from the other speakers already, that we have to simply understand that an insect farm is quite comparable. There's nothing real new. Yeah, it depends a little bit to the working principle you have. And the only difference between each insect project are the local site definitions you have. That means you have to get clear about what you are doing on your site there with your insect farm. And this does mean as well that you may not look to those big and always reported and advertised lighthouse projects, because this is not comparable to the business what you are trying to run. And it is really, believe me, it is completely different. You have to learn something much more about your potential customers around you. So I learned that close to my home city, there are already 2 pet food companies. That brought me to the next question. What is the difference between those both pet food companies? The one is for dry food, the other is for wet food, and so on. You start to learn about the industry of your potential customers. And this is so, it is a little bit complicated, but it is a continuous process of learning that you have, that you need some kind of, let's say, deeper understanding of your customers. And for sure, where are the customers? And it makes always sense to create something locally and something more circular. And even such a circular use has to be created, if not already done. And then the whole business case becomes more and more to become valid at the end of the day. And this is what we have seen so far. And again, don't look to the big lighthouse ones. Yeah, take home messages. What we see is, again, the demand for insect products. And this is reported from all our contexts when we get into a deeper discussion. The demand is still much, much higher than the actual production capacity. It gets really, really interesting when BASF becomes the application for food use. And what we see as well, this is just an example from our surrounding in other regions, countries. It can be different. Not everybody is using pork meat, but we see that in, for example, in Germany, the consumption per head, per capita, is decreasing in means of 10 to 15% every year we eat per person less pork meat. This means also that the processing industries which are using those slaughterhouse residuals to produce valuable protein products, those PAPs, processed animal proteins, they have a problem in regard that they get lesser and lesser slaughterhouse residuals. This can be a potential market to step in. And there are so many slaughterhouses, and there are some up to a lot of those protein processing companies as well. So what I want to say is that there are a lot of chances, and there's no reason to, one German sportler said already, to put sand in your head. Yeah, that was something which I just recognized here. Okay, so take home messages. Currently, there is no one market price. Yeah, so this is the most interesting thing what we that we can learn. There is something like that you, by personal and individual negotiation, you can create the price. That's a very good thing. And there's still no quality standard existing for insect products. And this brings us, do not go or do not step into that apples and oranges comparing discussion with fish meal. That does not work, yeah. Because on one hand, there's no quality standard. On the other hand, you can compare in regard what is about CO2 footprint or something like that, fish meal is produced from normal fishing and by fishing and so on, and you are locally creating your circular economy with the better arguments for selling your products locally. Yeah, and what we can see here, finally, there are in in total, there are much more chances actually compared to the limitations. Thank you very much.